So there is a new game coming out in the MudRunner slash SnowRunner franchise, and that is Expeditions, a MudRunner game. As you guys know, I've played SnowRunner pretty extensively on this channel. I've also played the mobile version of MudRunner, and I just kind of like these games in general, especially SnowRunner. I really like SnowRunner. It's actually one of my favorite games. So when Focus Entertainment reached out and asked me if I wanted to take a look at Expeditions really early, I decided to say yes to that. They didn't have any real conditions for me other than I can't show any of my footage of the game, so sorry, you're just gonna have to look at the trailers for now and some screenshots for the relevant info, and I can't talk about it before today at this very hour, so congratulations if you're here early, because this is breaking news, I guess. That's really odd for me. I'm not really fast on this stuff, but thank you to them for letting me check out the game, and I figured today I would give you a first impressions, just talking about what I was able to do in the game and about the game in general, so if you're interested, let's get into this. So what is Expeditions, a MudRunner game? Well, from my perspective, I'm not going to read out the stuff that they have in their descriptions and whatever, but basically it's a spin-off game of MudRunner. It says Expeditions, a MudRunner game, but I honestly think it should be called MudRunner Expeditions instead. It's not really a DLC, like it is a full game in itself, and the reason for that mostly is the extra stuff that they've added, but we'll get into that in a bit. What it boils down to is this is MudRunner and SnowRunner, except it's pretty much exclusively scout missions. What you're going to be doing the most part in this game is driving a single vehicle, no trailers or anything. It's just a single vehicle with a gadget or a few gadgets, and you're trying to get to a location, whether it's to like dig up something there or whatever, it doesn't really matter, but it's the meat of the game is one vehicle and then difficult terrain. From what I played in this game, there were absolutely zero roads, no pavement. It's all off-road stuff. That means the terrain is a little bit more difficult, but it makes sense for this type of thing. It's a very much an off-roading game, not so much a hauling game like SnowRunner and MudRunner have been in the past. So if you like the scout missions in SnowRunner, you will like this game, I guarantee it. Now, I am somebody who likes the hauling missions more in SnowRunner. It is good to have a mix-up of two things. It's like, yeah, you want to scout a bit, and then you go ahead with your big trucks, but in this game it's all scouting, and there are extra tools to get you there. Each truck has an inventory and also a cargo. Both of those have different capacities depending on the truck and also depending on the attachments that you have. So in my case, one of my trucks has, at least in the preview, again, I'm sure there'll be more in the full game, but I have a roof rack that has fuel on it and repair points, and that counts towards my cargo capacity. The inventory is for stuff that is more gadget based, and also some items that you have to pick up on your journeys. There's this thing called the screw jack, which basically is like a free flip over if you flip yourself over. There are removable anchor points, which is basically like a mobile tree essentially, and there's also disposable versions of those. There's also some other stuff that is more specific to the missions themselves. Stuff like a camera trap, which will record footage when the sensors detect movement. I guess that's for wildlife stuff. I did not have the opportunity to use that in this preview. There's a camcorder for filming, there's light beacons, range finders, and I'm sure there'll be more in the full game. Cargo is your fuel and repair points. Basically how this game works is you set yourself up before every mission that you go on with the materials that you think you're going to need. All these materials cost money as well, so if you spend too much money preparing for a mission, you're going to not make as much money on the mission, although some materials do sell back. But if you bring way too much fuel and you don't use all that fuel, then you've wasted it, so yeah, you got to keep that in mind. With the upgrade stuff, like the screw jack and the anchor points, those sell back for half of their value at the end of the mission, so it's a cost effective thing to not bring as much, pretty much. I should say, again, this is a preview version of the game that I played, so there's a lot of stuff that's subject to change, and I'm sure it will change in the final release. But your cargo capacity is very much determined by your attachments, the different bed that you have on your truck, the different front bumper even, the different head rack, like I said. All that stuff makes a difference in terms of how much fuel you can carry, how many extra tires, how many extra repair points, That's kind of important. There are a lot of different vehicles in this game, as you would expect from these games. There actually are different classes as well. You would think that maybe the entire game would be Scout, but that's not really the case. There are actually heavy vehicles as well. Where they excel is bringing a ridiculous amount of materials and specialized attachments. Certain vehicles can only carry certain attachments. For instance, the Scout vehicles can carry a metal detector, whereas my other stuff that's more truck-esque cannot. So then you need to use a Scout for the metal detector, and then the metal detector is required in some missions because you won't be able to find the stuff without it. So stuff like that is also scaling up for heavy vehicles too, as I understand it. I'm not going to say what vehicles specifically are in this game, but there are a lot of carryovers from past games, so expect to see some of your favorites. There are off-road trucks as well. I believe the 3 classes are off-road, heavy, and Scout, at least in the preview. There's some cool stuff though. There's some stuff I'm excited to see, so I'm looking forward to playing more of this game, although I've reached the end of my preview time, so I'm gonna have to wait just like you. All the trucks can be customized. There are a lot of options for customization. Obviously we have engine, gearbox, suspension, tires, winches, and then there's like accessories and various things, but the accessories actually matter. Like I said before, certain accessories carry fuel, certain accessories carry repair points, certain accessories carry extra wheels, and if you bust a wheel in the middle of nowhere, you don't want to spend that money to have to be recalled back. So it's important to have this equipment on hand, otherwise you're just going to be wasting your money. And obviously there's paint and decorations and stuff too. Just like with SnowRunner, I'm sure that they're going to be adding a ton more of this stuff with DLC. Talking about business model, just checking out the store on Steam, it's $55 Canadian. Regularly games these days are going for like 90 Canadian, so this game is a budget-oriented title in that aspect. So yeah, I think it's decent value for what you get so far, obviously, but you can expect to see a lot more DLC. You can even see it in the store page already. There's different premium editions for DLC packs, so that is just the SnowRunner way at this point. So let's talk a little bit about the way that the game actually plays. Handling is honestly just the same as these games usually are. SnowRunner, MudRunner feels exactly the same. There are a couple extra features. Stuff like the ability to air down your tires is really cool, and that's a really nice feature to have. The controls are a little bit different in the SnowRunner, but it's something that I took a minute to get used to, and then that was it. I'm ready to go. So you have the ability to refuel on the go off of your spare stuff, and the same thing with your repair points. You can pick where you want to repair your suspension, your engine, your gas tank, your gearbox, whatever, from your repair points. Again, you have a little bit of choice there. And as per usual, you got your transmission, exactly the same functionality as SnowRunner and stuff. You can go into your inventory at any time and pull out one of your devices, whether it be your drone, which allows you to jump into the air and kind of see your surroundings. That is extremely important because there are no roads. Oftentimes there are no like really obvious pathways. So what I've been doing when I'm playing this game is jumping up into the air. I look around and I try to find where I want to go, and then I either map that out on the actual map, or I just kind of drive it and see what it's like. And that's really the best way to get around from what I understand, at least in the easiest area, which is the first one. There's a winch, obviously. It's the same style of winch as we've been dealing with before, and it also has a quick thing, so you don't have to go into a radial menu to pull it out if you're falling off of a cliff and you need to grab a tree really close by. There are binoculars, which basically just let you zoom in and out of the terrain. You can see pretty clearly and quite a far distance as well what's out in the middle of nowhere. And that will also let you scout the horizon. You can see stuff, say an airdrop or whatever on the map, and then you can basically mark it on your map that way if you haven't seen it before. And then there is the echo sounder, which is a basically depth gauge when you're driving through water. It just lets you see how deep the water is so you don't get yourself stuck for no reason. So the way that the game functions is that it's open zone, very much like SnowRunner, very much like that, where you pick the map that you're going into and then that's it, except it's a lot more mission based, where every time you go into a mission you're basically resetting the area. Although some things do persist, you can make little bases. I use make lightly. Essentially there are points on the ground where you can pick what you want to build there. It costs quite a bit of money, but you can build stuff like storage bases. So every time that you spawn in that area, that storage base will have fuel and materials for fixing your stuff ready to go, so you don't need to bring it in every time and spend that money. You're basically investing for the future. If you spend this money now, you never need to bring extra fuel, because then you just go to the essential storage, pick it up, and then keep going. There's also a store, and the same thing applies here, where it's like you can basically pick up all the stuff that you would have possibly been missing if you didn't bring it ahead of time, but it's the extra things. There are lots of different stuff here for missions, especially because if you happen to want to do a mission mid-mission, then you're going to need to buy the stuff to get there if you just found it. So the way that it works is that there are missions kind of around the area. These are like side missions, and then your main missions are the ones that you select from the menus. In your headquarters, basically you go for a new expedition, you pick the region that you want to go to, you pick the expedition, and then you pick your equipment, basically your truck, and then you also have a team composition, which basically allows you to spend money to get a little bit of a bonus. So as an example, there are managers, and one of the managers, he gives you 30% bonus on selling of treasure items for 600 dollars basically. So if you have a lot of treasure items that you think you're going to find during that time, maybe it's worth it to get that plus 30%. And then it'll be worth it to have that guy. Some of the other things are more interesting. There is another guy who will give you plus 100 repair parts and plus 50 fuel on outposts, so that makes things easier immediately because you have free resources, and then also increases partial scout radius of binoculars by 100 meters, so that means you get an extra 100 meters of scouting range on your binoculars, and that's just one guy. But again, you have to pay for him every mission, so is it worth it? You have to decide. Missions give an initial payment, and they also give bonus payments based on certain things. So the one mission I'm looking at right here just says use the screwjack less than 2 times. That's the flip over thing, so don't flip over or don't have to flip yourself over twice, and then there you go, you get extra money, take no damage or less than 250 damage, don't flip your car, and that type of stuff. You get bonuses to help you get past things here. When you're in an expedition, there are bonus objectives on the map. You don't have to do them to clear the expedition, you just have to do the minimum, and the minimum is honestly pretty easy. But if you want that extra cash, there's some random stuff on the map, and that random stuff is usually like an airdrop, which is like a chest or some kind of part pickup for your cars. It works the same way as it does in SnowRunner, where you can just find carcasses of vehicles and then pick that up, and then there you go, that's your upgrade part for your rig. And then there are bonus missions. I did one where it was basically just like drive to these 2 locations, and then I got paid extra for it, and I didn't spend more money in fuel than I spent doing that, so it was worth it. You really have to weigh these sort of things if you want to make money in this game, or just get really lucky. Now, it's not all just drive here, drive there missions. There was one that I did where I had to rescue a downed heavy truck, which was interesting, using a small vehicle, but it was fairly straightforward. Same type of thing that you can expect to do in these types of games. Having not really seen all the missions, it's hard to be able to tell, but there are quite a few just in the preview that are locked, so let me go over a few of them. One of the missions is go to 5 different locations and take pictures. Another one of the missions is go and check out a wrecked plane, but for this one you need a specialist, so one of those people that I talked about before. You have to bring one of those along, which is interesting. I didn't have to do any of these in my preview so far. Another one is go check out a drone crash site with a metal detector and find its bits. Some missions will restrict the type of truck you can use, some of them restrict the type of upgrades you can use, and so on and so forth. It's very much the same type of thing as you might expect. But that's just a preview, and I've only played a preview of the game. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. I'm looking forward to seeing what else is out there for expeditions. I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover, but if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Obviously, I can't say too much, but I wasn't given a list or anything of stuff that I can't say, so as long as it's public info, then let's talk about it. I'm excited though. I'm excited to see what's coming up in this series. I'm excited to see what else they can do with this game. I'm very much looking forward to playing the full game, and we'll definitely do some videos on it when it comes out. But thank you to Focus again for letting me check this out early. It feels like real journalism, which is strange. I'm not a journalist. Okay guys, thank you for watching. See you guys again soon. Hopefully you enjoyed this little Tuesday video. More expeditions to come, but not until March 5th when it comes out. I actually said 4th on the first take. Wow. Spreading misinformation on the internet. Ooh, it's the 5th. See you then.